Hey, so amazing. You see how they playing? Live wire, it's all about sports and entertainment. You don't wanna miss it, so official like you never seen. Keep it going till the whistle blowing from the referee. Everything from highlights and stats, you know that we gotta run it back. Whether on the field or the court, you know that this is where it's at. Subscribe, no delaying. This is Live Wire, sports and entertainment. Let's go.
All right, what's good, everyone? Welcome to another edition of Live Wire Sports Media. So, I had a very important phone call yesterday, and in very detail, I'm not going to disclose who was the person and all of that, but it was very, very important for me because it illustrates some things. Now, I remember back when Stephanie White was hired and she did her interview and she talked about the style of play they want and what she wanted for Caitlin Clark going into year 2. And a lot of people lost their minds when Stephanie White said she wanted Caitlin Clark off ball more and everything. And then we had this debate about Caitlin Clark off ball or Caitlin Clark on ball. So, and that brings me to this contrast. Stephanie White talked about in the beginning that she wanted to run a read and react offense, same kind of offense that Caitlin Clark ran in Iowa, because you want to have the ball in the most important person's hand. And we know Caitlin Clark is the most important person. We've seen it last year when Chrissy Sides wanted to play in the post to Leah Boston, and it wasn't working. Yeah, Leah Boston was getting her numbers at that time, but it wasn't working for the offense because, as you notice, there was a lot of standing around, not a lot of movement, not a lot of cutting, not a lot of fluidity to the offense. But then they had a month off for the Olympic break, and they came back in the second half of the season. Caitlin Clark ran the offense the way it was supposed to run, and that's when they went on that run. Now, a lot of people don't know specifically, so that's why I always say I do facts and stats, because I always want to bring correct information when I do these things. Now, a lot of people, Stephanie White, before I get into her video, Stephanie White did her offensive style in Connecticut was motion offense. It helps, like, if you look at Alyssa Thomas will be the point guard for that team. But you notice, Alyssa Thomas only got her assists when she needed to be challenged. When Caitlin Clark was getting all the assist numbers, and Natasha Cloud was up there in assist numbers, and I think Sabrina at the time. And then I think that they finished Caitlin 1, Alyssa 2nd, and Natasha Cloud 3rd. But nevertheless, you saw, I think, Ty Harris, you saw Marina Mabry handle the ball some, you saw a little bit of DeWanna Bonner handling the ball some. And that's where the most dominant person on that team was Alyssa Thomas. She didn't have a lot of dominance with the ball. You look at the Minnesota Lynx, same thing. Very motion offense. The point guard is Courtney Williams. Yeah, Fee gets her shots because she plays inside to the basket a lot. But it's very hard for the outside shooters to get to where they want to do, because you notice Courtney Williams, if you look at her assist numbers, it's not really, she gets assists, but it's not really dominant assist numbers. You know, it's always movement here where that person is not the ball dominant person. You might see Kayla McBride handle the ball some. You might see You see, Tisha Heidemann came in the game sometimes. So that offense is predicated to be, again, not dealing with the main person who runs the offense. If you look back in the past, to pick and roll offense, even I looked up information about um, the Utah Jazz. They did a pick and roll, and the San Antonio Spurs. San Antonio Spurs runs kind of like a hybrid of both the read and react and the motion. So they kind of like they play with both of them a little bit because of what they have dealing with them when it comes down to their offensive schemes and personnel for the team. So again, motion offense. The definition of a motion offense is the broad category of offense that prioritizes the player's movement, floor spacing, passing, cutting, and screening rather than relying on set plays. Focus of the offense is to teach players how to play the game and make decisions based on the defense actions. That means if Caitlin passed to Kelsey Mitchell, Kelsey Mitchell has the option to attack the defense. Same thing if you was pass the ball to Lexi Hall, or you pass the ball to Sophie Cunningham, or the one about whoever. They have the option to the attack, where the ball comes back to the main person, which is Caitlin Clark. Variations of it is many different types of motion offense assists, each with its own characteristic or categories. For example, you got the flex offense, the shuffle offense, and the dribble drive. All right, so here we go. The definition of the flex, the read and react offense. It's a specific system within the broader category of motion offenses that focus on teaching players how to react to the defensive schemes rather than running set plays. So if you think about it, the motion in the read and react is almost similar, but they act differently in their own entity. So if you noticed last year where Caitlin would get the ball, she would bring the ball up top. You know, when Dantas in the game, Dantas would definitely set a screen, and that would give Caitlin Clark the option to either pass it back to her, pass it to somebody else, or she could take the shot. It all depends on what the defense is showing at that time. If the defense is pressing up, that gives the option to a wide open Kelsey Mitchell or a person that's cutting to the basket like a Leah Boston or Nelissa Smith at the time. So the structure of the offense, the focus on the offense also emphasizes that player development, skill development, and teaching players to read the defense and make decisions accordingly. And that's where, when you have players with high IQ, you have players with high IQ that has to make those sort of moves. Why do you think Caitlin Clark was so successful in Iowa? Because she had a high IQ players. Yeah, you might have had only one 5-star or 4-star and a couple of 3-stars, but they was very high IQ players, and they knew how to attack. They knew how to read the defenses and know what the defense could. When Caitlin Clark gets the ball, she already knows how to attack the defense. Everybody else has to run accordingly, move accordingly to that. So the structure of the offense, the read and react offense, is taught in layers. Whether each layer building upon the previous one, and key principles: constant management. Players are constantly cutting, screening, and moving without the ball, and that's where we had a problem with the Fever in the beginning of the season, because they did not move without the ball a lot. There was a lot of having Caitlin stand up there and no movement. And when they didn't know where to go with the ball, nobody knows where to move. Nobody knew where to cut at. Everybody was just standing around waiting. But when Caitlin was running the offense, they all found a way to move because she's like a choreographer, making sure you know every dance step that's important right there. So, um, with that being said, I'm gonna jump into this video and then I'm gonna let y'all decipher for yourselves. First, I'm gonna start with Stephanie White, then Caitlin, and then I'm gonna let you listen to what Sophie Cunningham to say as well.
Most, pace. One of the downfalls of having, a veteran team like we had in Connecticut was we weren't very fast. We didn't play very fast. One of the great things about Indiana is they love to play fast, right? So, what you want to play, I want to play with great pace. It's too hard in our league, and defenses are too good to allow them to get set, to allow them to be able to predetermine what you're going to do. So I also want our players to use their instincts and to play free. We want to make plays, not run plays, right? We want to have sets that give us certain spacing that we want, depending upon our rotations, who's on the floor, who we want to attack, what matchups we want to get to, how can we manipulate them. So we'll have certain play calls that just give us space to operate. And then whichever play we make, whichever pass we make determines, one of three actions that our players can read from. And so really giving them the freedom to play within a system, to get to the matchups and really challenging them to find the matchups, the reads, the shots that we want. And I think that's going to be the next step for a young team. And for a young team, sometimes you need it really structured. Sometimes you need to know what's coming. Sometimes you need to know exactly who's going to get the ball and when. Well, good defenses are going to take advantage of that right away, and you're going to be limited. So the goal for us is to put them in positions to make plays and allow them to do what they do best. So that's the simple version of what the philosophy is on the offensive end.
Now, if you listen to what she had to say, she pretty much described read and react offense, because you have to be able to take what the defense give you, but at the same time, you have to have the IQ to know when it's coming, not just to stand around. And a lot of people, when Stephanie White got hired, they was like, "Oh, you might as well keep Christy Sides." But you got to understand this: coaching is it takes a lot to understand schemes and offense. It doesn't happen overnight. You know what I'm saying? And you got to understand that when you're dealing with a player like Caitlin Clark at her caliber, you cannot stagnate her offense. Now, a lot of people run about her stats and say that, oh, well, she's going to score 25 certain points a game. It's only because the only way she's going to get those numbers, you will have to incorporate the read and react offense into the motion offense, because that's the kind of offense that Stephanie White is pretty much just going to run. It's the motion offense. She has to incorporate that read and react, because let me explain something to y'all. I have watched sports a whole lot throughout my years, my time in my life and stuff like that. And I have seen great players don't like different types of offense. We've seen it with Caitlin Clark last year. I seen it with Tom Brady, with how Tom Brady ran his offense in New England, and Bruce Arians ran that risk it no biscuit offense where you just throwing the ball over the field. And then halfway through the season, they had to change that because it wasn't the right type of, you wasn't able to take advantage of certain things. Before I even get into the next video, but you gotta understand this. Stephanie White has to make sure she trusts Caitlin Clark enough to make the decision. That's where she is a playmaker before she is a scorer. You don't want to just turn her into a pure scorer without allowing her to facilitate in the offense. You know what I'm saying? Because you got Sydney Colston there, but you don't want to have Sydney Colston running the offense and then Caitlin playing off ball and screening a lot, especially when it's coming out of crunch time. You want to use Sydney Colston in a sparring where you need to get Caitlin a break. because Caitlin got worn out down the stretch because there was nobody in there that could run the offense like she could. You couldn't rely on Christy Wallace and you couldn't rely on Erica Wheeler at all. So Sydney Colson feels that part because she will understands that, pretty much. So let me get to the next part. I know this video is going to be pretty, long, guys, but I have to detail it because I don't want to make a short video and then you don't get everything that I'm saying. So I'm trying to clip it, in the 20 mark.
What's this Caitlin Clark scouting report on Caitlin Clark?
Well, you just watched Debbie Antonelli's videos that she's been putting on Twitter, because I gave an entire scouting report, and I still do it in the game. But I mean, I'll tell you, but if you just watch my games, not much ever changes. I like to step back going to the left. I think the thing that makes it really hard is we run a read and react offense. You never know what's going to happen. You can't scout that. Like, you can try all you want, you can work on actions, but you never know what we're going to do because we don't even know what we're going to do. And I think that's the best way to play basketball is you're just making reads, you're using your brain. And Coach Butter says, just be a basketball player. Don't be a robot. Be a basketball player. And that's why people like watching Iowa women's basketball is because we make reads, we have fun, we play up tempo, we want to get out in transition. But I think for me, the area I want to thrive in is always transition. That's why I take pride in getting on the defensive glass and pushing the ball, because I just think it's so hard to guard us, especially with the way our 4s and 5s run the floor, and and Kate and Gabby can spot up for threes. I think it's really, really hard for us. So yeah, I think everybody knows what I'm going to do at this point. It's just, I don't know. That's what I always tell myself is just be you. That's all you can do.
All right, guys. So with that being said, Caitlin illustrated what the read and react offense is. Let me explain something to you. The team that Indiana had last year, in the second half of the season, they ran it, but they couldn't run it to the full capacity. For the Indiana Fever to win a title this year, and Caitlin Clark becomes league MVP, they have to run a read and react offense because you have the talent, top tier talent. You have a person like DeWanna Bonner that can run. You have a Sophie Cunningham that can run. You have a Lexi that can run. You have a Sydney that can run. You have a Bree Turner that can run. You have a Natasha Howard that can run. You have scoring options, but at the same time, you don't want to turn it into a half-court game, which is where the motion offense becomes. If you look at how the New York Liberty was to be able to beat Minnesota, look at their personnel. Look how they played on defense, how they beat Minnesota. Minnesota didn't have enough plays. They didn't have enough spacing. They didn't have enough cuts. They didn't stretch the 3-point line out because that's the read and react is the 3-point line is the barrier for that. You know what I'm saying? I did wrote some notes down here. Because the read and react offense was developed by Rick Tolbert and everything. And it's more direct about accountability in the read and direct. And you have to have accountability. You know what I'm saying? It's not taking the ball out your most dominant hand. Even with the triangle offense with the Bulls ran, Jordan still was the most dominant ball player because you had to give it to them. Even though they had a point guard like Paxson and BJ Armstrong, but the ball always found a way back to Jordan. And that's where it has to be. It has to start and end with Caitlin Clark. It don't matter who you swing the ball back to, it has to end up back in the Caitlin Clark. And then in times last year with the Fever, it didn't happen that way at all. So one more clip to show y'all, and then I'm gonna start wrapping up.
I do love the offense we're gonna be playing. It's a motion offense. I feel like I haven't played in a motion offense since college, and so it's gonna be run and gun, kick and shoot, lots of threes. And so I'm stoked. Like, I really am so excited. But do we have the pieces? Absolutely.
All right, so you heard what Sophie Cunningham just said. She said a motion offense. That just illustrated. Now, if Natasha Howard or DeWanna Bonner or Sydney Colson says something different, then hey, then somebody's somebody is not reading the room right. But Sophie Cunningham just illustrated that is a motion offense that they're going to be running. That's going to be the scheme of everything that they're going to be running. So with that being said, with the way that the New York Liberty has set up themselves, because everything that they have done is to counter what Indiana is doing. New York is not worried about no other team in the league but Indiana, because they see what Indiana has done. Take notes, people. For Caitlin Clark to get the next step, Stephanie White needs to allow her to be who she was. Don't change your most important player to a style of offense that is not going to win you titles. Now, they do, like I said, they do have the personnel. Now in Connecticut, they didn't have the personnel when she ran her motion offense. You had Connecticut against them, and you see how drawn out, stifled the game was, no scoring. They couldn't get up and down there because both of the styles was similar. You don't want to have a similar style as somebody else. And Caitlin just told you, you can prepare for it, but you can't stop it. So if you adopt that style, the league cannot stop it. You think about this. Teams that say that they want to run more this year. Who was they? The LA Sparks and the Golden State Valkyries. They said that they want to run more. So they want to adapt what the Indiana Fever did last year. They've seen what the Indiana Fever did with Caitlin Clark. So they want their own version of who Caitlin Clark is. Caitlin Clark has to be in that read and react system. That motion system is not going to work, even though it has similarities. But like I said again, they are totally different. Similar but totally different. They operate differently. For Caitlin Clark to win the title, now if they mix read and react with the motion and it pays off, then hey, I'm good with it. But if you solely dependent on the motion offense to be your bread and butter and not play with, stifling you playing that half court style. Now in the playoffs is different. You might have to, but right now when the season starts, you want to run a gauntlet. You want to run over these teams. You don't want to play that style of basketball. You got enough weapons on there to execute every play that you put on the floor. So let me know what you think, guys. Motion offense versus read and react. We'll see whether it pays off for the Fever to be successful in 2025. We don't know, but I can tell you this. If Caitlin Clark doesn't hit the numbers and she doesn't win MVP, or Angel Whistle wins MVP, then we could come back to this video and we have another discussion on it, because it's going to be very important for the Fever. So until then, like, comment, subscribe. This is your boy, Livewire Sports Media, and I'm out.
Hey, so amazing. You see how they playing? Live wire, it's all about sports and entertainment. You don't want to miss it, so official like you never seen. Keep it going till the whistle blowing from the referee. Everything from highlights and stats. You know that we gotta run it back, whether on the field or the court. You know that this is where it's at. Subscribe, no delaying. This is Live Wire, sports and entertainment. Let's go.